Hello YouTube, this is Core22 here, back with a another scenario build for Star Wars X-Wing miniatures. For tonight's scenario, I'm recreating the rescue on Bespin, where Chewbacca, Leia, and Han, or sorry, not Han, Lando Calrissian are flying the Millennium Falcon and heading back to Cloud City to rescue Luke before he falls to an untimely death. And we have TIE fighter pilots from Obsidian Squadron heading in to intercept them. Now, as with the movie, the goal for the Rebel Alliance is to have the YT here, the Millennium Falcon, speed all the way over to this token here, this Rebel token, which will represent Luke Skywalker. And then once he's nabbed that token by taking he has to land next to him and take a collect action, which basically means, I guess, well, rather, he just has to fly next. He just has to fly. The base has to touch the token, and then he'll rescue him. And then once that's done, he has to fly all the way back out to the other end, to the same area where he came from, and he has to be out of the off the table with Luke in tow before the TIE fighters can destroy him. Now, for the Imperials here, we've got 5 TIE fighters here, all of them of Obsidian Squadron. And their goal is to stop the Millennium Falcon from either rescuing Luke, but if they fail to do that, then if the Falcon rescues Luke, then the TIEs will have a new task of destroying the Falcon before it leaves the battlefield. So, yeah, mission success for the Rebels is if the Falcon leaves the battlefield after collecting Luke, the mission success for the Imperial TIE fighters is to either destroy the Falcon before or after it gets to before it gets to Luke, or before it or if that's not the case, before it leaves the field. So, yep. So here are the ships, the pilots. Let's move on to the 2 facts we got going here. So, the Rebel facts, we've only got 1 ship, and it's been decked out with some upgrades that are kind of staying true to the movie as I could. So we'll start with the pilot of this build, and that is Chewbacca. Chewbacca has a pilot skill of 5. He flies the YT 1300 freighter. He has an attack value of 3, and it is a turret, so it has a non-directional firing arc. He has an agility value of 1, a hull value of 8, and a shield value of 5. He can take on the focus and lock-on actions. He costs 42 squadron points, and he's able to take on an elite pilot skill upgrade, a missile upgrade, and 2 crew slots. His ability states, when you are dealt a face-up damage card, immediately flip a face down without resolving its ability. So Chewbacca's natural ability basically cancels out critical hits. So basically, it treats all criticals as regulars, so to speak, because every time he hits a face-up critical, his ability allows him to flip a face down and not suffer from its effect. So yeah, good on Chewbacca for doing that. Now for his first upgrade, it's a title card, and it is the Millennium Falcon. It's a title card meant only for the YT 1300, and it states your action bar gains the evade action, which is good because you're probably going to be using this action a lot while you're getting to Luke, while you're getting to Luke, and while you're getting away from the fighters in order to escape Bespin, so to speak. Or as an alternative for his upgrade, I've chosen to give him an engine upgrade, which states your action bar gains the boost action icon. So really, it's all a matter of preference. You can either keep using evades, or you can keep using the engine upgrade's boost ability, which allows you to get that extra burst of speed and get you that much closer to Luke. And overall, with these 2 upgrades in my title cards, it makes the Millennium Falcon behave similarly to that of an A-wing, because the A-wings by default have a boost, lock-on, evade, and focus action. Now I move on to the upgrades of the ship. The first one I've chosen for his elite pilot talent, I have chosen Daredevil. It's another card that must be used during the action phase, and it states execute a white hard turn 1 or hard left 1 or hard right 1 maneuver, then receive 1 stress token. If you do not have the boost action icon, roll 2 attack dice, suffer any hit, and it's a critical damage rolled. So thankfully, so normally you would only put this card on a TIE Interceptor, an A-Wing, or an A-Wing. But thanks to the engine upgrade I've given to the Falcon, it also now has the boost action icon, which means I can use this. I can use this in place of a boosting action, which will help. Which will help kind of veer off from enemy ships. And since the Falcon has an omnidirectional firing arc, thanks to its main turret weapon, whether or not the enemy's in the firing arc of the Falcon, really it doesn't matter that much. For his missile, I've chosen to give him a concussion missile. It has attack value 4, it can be used at range 2 to 3, and it states, attack, spend your target lock and discard this card to perform this attack. You may change one of your blank results to a hit result. So much like with this thing is pretty much like the equivalent of a proton torpedo. Only difference being is that protons allow you to turn one focus into a critical, whereas concussions allow you to turn one blank into a regular hit result. You're probably going to be using this upgrade first, right away, because the Falcon cannot, even though it has an omnidirectional firing arc, it cannot fire secondaries in all directions. So I would get rid of the concussion missile first and dish out some major damage to one of the TIE fighters attacking you, and after that rely on your evasion and your hull and your defenses in order to get away from your targets. Now for his first co-pilot, I know there was supposed to be there were 3 crew on the ship: Chewbacca, Lando, and Leia, but I don't have the Princess Leia crew slot, so I have to kind of make do with what I've got here. So the first crew slot I've got here is Lando Calrissian. He is a rebel only crew slot, and it states, action, roll 2 defense dice. For each focus result, assign one focus token to your ship. For each evade result, assign 1 evade token to your ship. So with Calrissian, it stated in his profile that he was a heavy gambler, and it was because of his heavy gambling that he was able to head the demanding gas operations on Cloud City. So this kind of reflects on that gambling, because rather than take a focus or evade action individually, you can choose to use Lando Calrissian's action to roll 2 defense dice, and for every focus result you get a focus, and for every evade result you get 1 evade. So with Lando, you have the chance of getting the best of both worlds, but there's also a bit of a risk, because if you roll blanks, then that's it. That's the end. You don't get anything from that. So yeah, again, it kind of reflects on Lando's gambling personality. For his second crew slot, I've chosen to give him a gunner. And gunner states, after you perform an attack that does not hit, you may immediately perform a primary weapon attack. You cannot perform another attack this round. Since Chewbacca is going to be the only ship in the Rebel Alliance on this particular scenario, gunner doesn't really matter that much. Although I have been told that gunner only affects the ship, not the actual player. So either way, it wouldn't matter. But yeah, gunner basically allows you to do a double tap right on the same turn, because if the Falcon is an attack value 3, you can fire in all directions. If for any reason your attack doesn't hit, you can use gunner to re-roll that attack and basically get a second chance. Hopefully, yeah, which again will allow you to take down more TIE fighters as they go along. Oh yeah, another thing I should mention for this build, for the Imperials, we're going to be giving the kind of the reinforcements kind of rule, which is if a TIE fighter is destroyed on its next turn, it can return, but as an Academy pilot. So yeah. So basically that means the Falcon's going to be pretty hard-pressed to defend itself from these TIE fighters, because if the Falcon destroys one, another one next turn will take its place. Sure, it'll have a lower pilot skill, but, you know, the Empire's strategy has always been strength in numbers. So now we've gone out of the way, let's move on to the Imperial faction. And the Imperial faction here consists of 5 TIE fighters, all of them of Obsidian Squadron, with Howlrunner as their leader. Or as their squadron leader. So we'll start with the squadron leader, as I said already, which is Howlrunner. She has a pilot skill of 8, and she flies the Sinar Fleet Systems TIE Fighter. She has an attack value of 2, an agility value of 3, a hull value of 3, and a shield value of 0. She can take on the focus, barrel roll, and evade actions. She costs 18 squadron points, and she's able to take on an elite pilot skill upgrade. Her ability states, when another friendly ship at range 1 is attacking with its primary weapon, it may roll 1 attack die. So with Howlrunner, it's to your best. It's to your best interest to keep as many of your TIE fighters, other Obsidian, any of your other blacks, your TIE fighter pilots, as close to her as possible, because they'll be able to get that addition. They'll be able to get that reroll, if they're within range one of her, which will have a better chance of you hitting the Falcon as it's trying to rescue Luke or trying to escape the battlefield. And for her upgrade, her only elite pilot skill, I have chosen Swarm Tactics. It states, at the start of the combat round, or the start of the combat phase, choose one friendly ship at range 1. Until the end of this phase, treat the chosen ship as if its pilot skill were equal to your pilot skill. So again, all the more reason to have as many of your TIE fighters as close to Howlrunner as possible, because not only will they benefit from her reroll advantage, with Swarm Tactics, one of those TIE fighters will be the same pilot skill as Howlrunner, so they'll both have pilot skills of 8, which will allow them for a double attack right off the bat. And since both will have a higher pilot skill than the Falcon, that means the Falcon will have to suffer 2 attacks before it gets to fire back, and then it'll have to suffer the later 3 attacks after its attack. And then for the rest of the squadron, I have chosen 4 Obsidian Squadron pilots. They all have pilot skills of 3, and they all fly the Silent Fleet Systems TIE Fighter. They all have attack value of 2, agility value of 3, a hull value of 3, and a shield value of 0. They can take on the focus, barrel roll, and evade actions. They cost 13 squadron points, and they cannot take any upgrades on the upgrade bar. They're also common pilots, so they do not get any abilities. But hopefully, if you play the ships right and keep them as close to Howlrunner as possible, lack of ability will kind of make up for it by Howlrunner's ability plus Swarm Tactics. So yeah, this is a very straightforward scenario. It's basically one ship, one large ship versus five smaller ships, or rather, 5 smaller ships at the start. But if one gets destroyed, the next turn another TIE fighter will take its place, but it'll be an Academy pilot as opposed to an Obsidian pilot or Howlrunner. Yeah, I'd say the strengths behind each build for the Falcon. It has an omnidirectional firing arc, so it can attack in any it can attack in any direction. Lando Calrissian's ability allows you to kind of take the chance and roll for focus and evade, or 2 focuses or 2 evades. Concussion missiles are good for dealing damage right at the start, provided you get a target lock. Daredevil is pretty much like an enhanced boost, which will allow you to boost harder out of the way, but at the cost of a stress. And Gunner will allow you to double tap if your first primary attack misses, along with the title card and modifications that allow for the Falcon to behave pretty much like an A-wing. I'd say it's all set for getting up close and saving Luke and getting out of Bespin before the Imperials catch him. The downside of this build is the fact that you're only one ship. Like, you have all these upgrades on you, but you're only one ship against a whole swarm of TIE fighters. And the TIE fighters may not be very powerful on their own, but in large groups, they're deadly. And again, reflecting on the Empire's strategy being in swarm tactics. Now, for the Imperial build, its biggest advantage, like I mentioned earlier, is swarming. The Obsidian pilots will benefit greatly from staying close to Howlrunner because of her natural ability to allow them to get 1 additional reroll. And of course, with Swarm Tactics, it allow for one of those Obsidian pilots to be a same pilot skill as Howlrunner, allowing it to attack alongside of her before the Falcon gets a turn, and then the other 3 TIE fighters will get their shot in, and hopefully get to they'll destroy the Falcon before it either gets to Luke or escapes the battlefield. Weaknesses of this build is the fact that the TIE fighters are very, very fragile ships. They have pretty average attacks. They have pretty good agility values too, so that it's helpful for them to evade attacks. But they only have 3 hit points each. And while you will ensure you will be able to respawn another TIE fighter after it gets destroyed, if Howlrunner ever does get destroyed, then that kind of hampers the build a bit, because Howlrunner, the TIE fighters here will benefit greatly from Howlrunner's ability. If she's destroyed, then it's kind of like, the TIEs will be all over the place. And not to mention that she'll come back, but that TIE fighter will come back, but it'll be an Academy pilot, which has a pilot skill of 1. So it'll be the first one to move and the last one to attack. So yeah, this is my this is going to be my I guess you could say this is my rescue on Bespin scenario. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Any constructive criticism is greatly appreciated. If you like, you may use this build for your own custom scenarios, or if you want, you can tweak it or revamp it to your own specifications, or use it in another specific scenario you had in mind. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is Corbin22 signing off.